Hello, everybody. It's 1:34 p.m. Central Time on the 16th of October, 2022, Sunday, here in the United States. Hope you're doing well. We are here on the Earthquake 3D live stream, and I am recording. We're going to upload this over to YouTube in just a few. Check out these fall colors. I don't know if you guys have them where you live. Again, you might live where there's pine trees. You might live in tropical, but man, over here in the Midwest United States, it is the season. Oh, look at that guy. I don't know who that is, but whatever it is, they're loving it out there. It's about 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. But we're not here to talk about that. Of course, we are here to talk about earthquakes. So let me get a display capture turned on so you can see what I see. And we're going to start over here with our large earthquake of the day. A 6.3 to 6.7 earthquake has struck Central America right off the coast of where Panama meets Colombia, or just north by northeast of Galapagos. Now that's the same sized earthquake that struck over here yesterday. See how it's marked as a 6.4? 6.4 to 6.6, and a 6.3 to 6.7. In other words, they're within a hair of a point of each other. Thousands and thousands of miles apart, parallel to each other almost, across the Pacific. Now, to show you what really moved, yesterday over here at Papua New Guinea, our 6.4 earthquake, Solomon Islands, now followed today across the entire plate over at Central America. So the new big earthquake there, we'll zoom in on it. Here's the Cocos Plate, and it connects over to the west, over to the Pacific Plate. You'll see it also connects over to the east, over into the Caribbean. And this is the spot we talked about yesterday, and all the earthquakes that were spreading across Central America, going down to our yesterday's quake, 4.5, off the coast of Ecuador. So you'll notice this new 6.3 to 6.7 quake has struck directly in the middle of the whole hot mess of earthquakes that we were talking about yesterday. Now, yesterday I brought up the spacing on these earthquakes, all the smaller ones, and how they're somewhat equally spaced across from Mexico all the way down to South America. I would call that a VLF spacing, very low frequency, hundreds of miles apart between the wave peaks. So imagine a wave going down across this red line into South America, and the spacing a few hundred miles apart, and an earthquake breaking at each point where the wave comes up. And that's really what happened. Now the middle point's been struck by a bigger hit, and the whole push is going to be going over to the east. The wave should be traveling over to the east in the next several days and go out over to the mid-Atlantic ridge. So it's another large earthquake, again same sized on both sides of the plate. This is proof that the same size energy is spreading out across both sides of the Pacific plate. My whole theme of the video yesterday was talking about the same sized earthquakes, spreading all the way out to China, all the way up to Japan and Kamchatka, and all the way across over to Central and South America. Now it's been filled in today again by the same size large earthquakes. Now, something else is going on, a lack of deep earthquake reporting from the USGS. It is now confirmed it's been 7 days, and the USGS only has these reported here on the feed. Again, let me go back and show you all the way back to the start of the week. Here's to the start of the week. USGS is supposed to report 4.0 plus earthquakes internationally, 4.5, there's some debate on it, whatever. You can see it. None up in Japan, none in Indonesia, none over in the Mideast, none up in Kamchatka, none in South America. None. No deep earthquakes except for one spot on the planet. That to me says somebody has hit the off switch on reporting the deep quakes. You're going to have to try and tell me that the whole planet has stopped having deep earthquakes for a whole week for the first time in 10 years? Or did my videos finally reach a point where we're reaching 100,000 views per video, and the things that I'm talking about are now being completely hidden from the public? And I mean, they're not reporting the quakes. That's what I'm telling you. And I'm not taking it back. I'm calling them out. You guys aren't reporting the quakes, USGS. Deep quakes especially, because that shows what I'm talking about. You called for my arrest, which was totally stupid. You shouldn't have done that. You filed the legal claims against me? Said I stole your logo? USGS? That was stupid too. I won. Oh, man. Anyway, so check it out. No deep earthquakes. We don't have anything to base our forecast on then, right? Cut out the deep quakes. Can't issue forecasts for large earthquakes. Literally, I have nowhere to look. Or it really stopped. What do you think? Do you think it really stopped all the deep earthquakes, focused only on one spot on the whole planet? Or did they stop reporting the quakes everywhere else? They can't stop them all, because that would be insane, right? They have to still report a few, right? I'm getting really worried, guys. Not more about them than the earthquake that's coming, the 8.0 that I'm looking for. And I'm going to look between our deep earthquakes. So let's just assume a few things. Sometimes assuming makes an ass between you and me, but sometimes assuming can also work out. It just depends. You have to flip the coin and find out whether the assuming is worth it or not. But I'm going to assume that there's deep earthquakes up here at Kamchatka. I'm going to assume that there's deep earthquakes on both of our letter Ds here at Indonesia. I'm going to assume that there's deep earthquakes going all the way over here on our letter D over in the Mideast. And I'm going to assume there's deep earthquakes all the way over here at South America on our letter D at Chile. And with that assumption, then we look to the middle of the whole thing, which just moves it ever so slightly over to the west, putting it into roughly Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, right where all three sets of rings are overlapping here. We'd go as far west as our letter D, as far east as central Papua New Guinea, and we look right there in the middle as the middle point between all the deeps. You could also say, if you take this D into account, that slightly shifts it even more west, where we would watch somewhere in Indonesia. Now, this is 8,000 miles, 5 to 8,000 miles. Let's see. Oh, that's more than that. It's like 9,000 miles to the west of where I warned. Right? So if there's deep earthquakes, we would look somewhere over here to the west between all of our letter Ds. And so I'm very, very concerned that somebody has decided to really, really screw everything up, and that would be screwing everything up scientifically. They'd be literally hiding a bunch of earthquakes to try and stop earthquake forecasting at this point. Like to try and make it look incorrect or something. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, man. Like, seriously, this is getting weird. All right, now let's go up to the north and to the west and just talk about the earthquakes which have struck, the ones which they're showing us. All the same sized earthquakes struck yesterday. I talked about that theme of my video yesterday, going up into China and beyond. Now, two more 4.9s. 4.9 and 4.9, right in the Taklamakan Desert heading out over to the west. Yesterday, we were dealing with two more 4.9s. 4.9 up in Siberia, 4.9 down here in India. Now, that's four 4.9s in a day. And the previous 4.9 downgraded to 4.8. Now, come on, man. This is our agency, the USGS, downgrading 5s to be 4.9s and 4.8s, so you don't have a cluster of 5s going across a huge area. That would attract every person's attention in the world who has their notification set to 5.0 plus. All the professionals, all the emergency managers, all the people who have their apps set to 5.0 plus earthquakes that they want to know about. They do this and it doesn't ding them. They just see an empty blank screen. They don't even see anything there. You'd have to try and tell me that all of these are 4.9s going across this big of a distance in a few days and not be suspicious. That we'd have all the exact same sized earthquakes. I'm getting very worried that we're getting a censored science feed in geophysics that's completely manipulated and fake now, or at least not accurate to the point where I can't trust it. Do you trust this? I hate to get so angry about this, but come on, guys, do you trust this? The skeptics, do you fucking trust this? Pardon my language, but dude, come on, man. All these 4.9s going across the whole area, and I'm going to set this to 18 plus because I just said the F word. But there it is. I get angry about it because it's false science, guys. It's literally somebody's doing some funny business to try and hide stuff from you, and I have to say something about it. Make a big deal about it and point out that it's impossible to have 4.9s everywhere all over the planet. There's got to be some 5s, and they're changing them to 4.9s to hide the increase. Right? To hide it from going from 4s to 5s. If everybody wakes up today and comes in and checks their feed and they see 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 all over the place, after they've been doing their best to try and keep it down, the professionals, the people are going to start to worry. They'll start asking questions. What's going on with all the 5s? And then they'll have to say nothing. It's just chance. Wow. Man, dude, somebody told me not to rant. I said, dude, shut up. Oh, somebody came over and complained about me ranting. I said, wow, you're complaining about me ranting. Think about it. That's funny. Anyway, let's go into the United States. Get out of here. Oh, let's go over to Europe and then the United States. So Europe, you got hit. Where? Germany. 4.0 earthquake in Germany, just north of Milan. Due north of Milan. I warned right up here in North Italy for a 5, and we have a 4 come rolling in hundreds of miles to the north. But I think this is the previous push still. So we're dealing with the previous push, the 4.9 and so forth that happened a few days ago. So I think this one is related to that. We haven't gone out to the North Mid-Atlantic Ridge with a big break yet. Iceland's moving now, by the way. New outbreak in Iceland, if you missed that. Iceland's due to go up to near 6. Upper 5, low 6 in Iceland directly. Also, Gibraltar started to move right here, going north of Morocco, and it's a pretty significant size swarm. Smaller earthquake-wise. Nothing down in the Canaries anymore. Canaries not showing anything, and instead we're breaking again at Gibraltar, which means the flow is about to be redirected back down to the Canaries, and we're going to see another outbreak at the Canaries in the next few days. So 2 things are happening. 1, big earthquakes due out at Iceland. 2, Canaries should start moving here in just a few. 3 things going on. North Italy at Milan, where all these rings are overlapping over the past few days. Warned for up to 5.3. 3.1 up in Poland, by the way, just to get that one off the list there. Okay, I apologize for using the F word, guys. Again, I get all fired up and all, you got to understand, my teenage years were filled with mohawks, combat boots, mosh pits, and drugs. The only thing that was good about the whole thing were the combat boots, okay? So, yeah. Oh, and that I fought Nazi skinheads and beat their asses. Yeah, that was actually a good part about being a equality punk. I actually like that part. Anyway, let's go down across over into the United States, out of Alaska. So I'm watching my language. That's what I'm getting at, guys. I'm working on it. I've actually gotten way better. Way better. Way better. But the foul mouth still, it's like a sinner, it's just a potty mouth. You can't stop. It just rolls off your tongue like some kind of second language or something. Now, over here up in the Northwest, we do have to talk about this. The increase at Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier are right next to it, and the drop-off over to the west-northwest, where we don't have any earthquakes reported at all off the coast of Washington or Vancouver Island or Haida Gwaii. Now, the Canadians apparently are reporting earthquakes up here. I had somebody write me and post a list of earthquakes from the Canadian site for the last 2 weeks, and it's a bunch of 4s going down the coast from Alaska down to the United States. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? You got to be kidding me, man. So really, we would have to go over and check out NR Canada. NR Canada. There we are. Natural Resources of Canada is the site that handles their earthquakes, apparently. And then what we need to do is go down the list and look at their significant earthquakes and their previous, they got a map now. Wow, they got a little interactive map. Perfect. Do we have a time frame on this that we can adjust this for? No. All right, okay. Well, let's go down and look at the legend. Day, week, month. So over the week, we look for orange. And 4 is marked with this ring right here. So check it out. We do. In this past week, right here along the coast, we have at least a single 4. Oh, wow. Hold on. It's right next to Haida Gwaii. Oh, my God. It's literally right in the middle here. A 4 this week. Canadians reporting right here in the middle, and the USGS leaving it out. You know why they'd leave it out, right? I am totally serious now. You know why they leave it out, right? You know why they leave a 4 in the middle right there out. You would see a stepping stone path that literally gets completed in, oh, dear God. Oh, my God. Okay. So USGS is reporting 4s up here at the Canada border, but in the middle, I don't see anything. Wow. Down to the south, you see all these 2s and 3s going right into North Vancouver Island. These orange-colored smaller quakes. And what you would see is a 4 in the middle, 3s and 2s going out in the north tip of the Juan de Fuca, and then 3s and 4s, the same size, going back down into California. And so it's literally being omitted from the feed. USGS deliberately omitting that. My God. I'm glad I could show it to you live. Nobody would believe me. If I made a video, they'd be like, oh, you're cherry picking. Or, you're making that up. You just like to bash the USGS. I'd be like, dude, I didn't even know who they were. All right, now let's go down into the United States. So this has been a heck of an update. I already dropped one F-bomb. I didn't mean to. But the sized earthquakes, 3.2 to 3.4, going from Montana yesterday, and yesterday out off the coast of Washington and Oregon, out on the Juan de Fuca. And then we have 0s, 1s, and 2s going down across the United States and over to the New Madrid seismic zone, where I live here in Missouri. But over here to the west, the stepping stone path of earthquakes, nothing's changed from my update yesterday. We have a warning going down in LA, northeast of LA, I'm sorry. So Palmdale, right over along the San Andreas Fault, about 75 miles east of LA for a 5.3 to 5.4. Well, 5.3 to be striking by the end of this coming week, 4 to 5 days at the most. Now, all the earthquakes are making a diagonal line down the coast and down the California-Nevada border, and there's stacks of quakes in the past 2 days. We're looking at 2 days worth of quakes. This isn't some long period of time. Now, there are times where we look over 2 days and you just see a handful of quakes. So there are times where there's like next to nothing going on. But this is not one of those times. You could definitely see it. It goes down the coast, down the creeping section of the San Andreas, jumps into the valley. We're also going down the California-Nevada border, and man, it's swarming along the California-Nevada border. These are all volcanoes. There's a ring of earthquakes up here between Lake Tahoe and Pyramid Lake. It literally is making a ring if you connect the dots around Lake Tahoe to Pyramid Lake. And in the middle there is a giant caldera I discovered, an ancient supervolcano that the professionals missed. The only way I found it was earthquakes doing this exact same thing right here, and fires doing the exact same thing. Fires breaking around the outside edge of this thing, not just quakes. Usually it's quakes first, then the fire second. And it doesn't matter what time of year it is, whether it's fire season or not. As we go down to the south, the same thing holds true. We start seeing fires break out around Long Valley Caldera, and fires break around Coarse Gold and the giant bulging laccolith of magma there. Over to the east, the biggest earthquake of the bunch is a 3.1. We're over at Monte Cristo Hills Volcanic Buttes, just east of Long Valley Caldera. Here is Long Valley Caldera, Mammoth Lakes, Mammoth Mountain. Turn on our volcano place marks, marked by the Smithsonian there. But again, the largest of the bunch coming out here to Monte Cristo Hills Volcanic Center. This thing broke apart with a 6.0 earthquake a few years ago. And then a big surface fissure fracture formed, a crack in the ground, formed many miles long coming out of here and going to the west, heading over towards where we had another 6.0 range quake over here. And that prompted me to zoom in on the area just to see what was there. And let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here. Old, abandoned, giant, huge pit mines that are really old. Look how much they're crumbled. Look at this. I'm serious now. Look at how much they're crumbled. So, I guess we had pioneers out here doing some deep digging. How deep does that go down? That goes down 500 feet deep just there. Yeah, right. I mean, seriously, this has to be older than dirt because it's out in the desert. It's not like it gets a lot of erosion out there. So, or not a lot of water erosion, I should say. But that's where the quake is, and the quakes go over to that thing. Hashtag Tartaria old mine, old quarry. Now that we get down here, we have a stack of earthquakes. What's down here at the stack? This is the nuclear test sites on the edge of the giant star fort that I've showed you guys many times. And I'm not going to show it to you now. You can go watch my other videos on that. I just want to go look and see where the swarm is. How close are we to it? Are we right on the edge of it? Yes, we are. Okay. So here's our nuke test sites. Here's Doomtown, for instance. Right there where they did the surface nuclear tests. And here's the valley where they detonated all the underground nukes. And there's just so many of them. Again, you guys can take the time to come in and read these if you want. U.S. nuke Operation Deck, D-E-C-K. November 18th, 1975, 20 kilotons. Just one of many. But the earthquake is right here, earthquake swarm. And our starfort edge goes, well, oh man, you can't even see it with all this. Our starfort edge goes out this way. Oh, look. Cathedral Rock. You gotta be kidding me. Cathedral Rock, right on the edge of it. I just realized that. Big hiking area. You guys, it's a well-known location that's supposedly one of the more beautiful locations. It's right on the edge of the starfort out here. So big-time activity going all the way down the edge of the starfort, somewhat equally spaced. Swarm here at the nuke test sites out in Nevada. Swarm here at Ridgecrest, the experimental facilities for Raytheon and Boeing. Swarm here at the very pinnacle tip of the starfort. And then a few lone blasts out at Boron, California, right next to the Air Force Base. Then, as if going around it, the earthquakes are following the outside edge of it in a diagonal line through the LA basin, going all the way down to Southern California, going along the coast. So really the way you should look at this, guys, in 2 days' time, all of California has shifted again, twice, or you could even say 3 times, or it's just carrying on for 3 days. Going from up here at the volcano at Clear Lake, where the big stack of earthquakes is, down along the creeping section of the San Andreas, and carrying on now all the way to Southern California. We've connected all the way through. Really, we have. I mean, again, this 2 days worth of earthquakes. If I look at the full week, it becomes just a hot mess. I have to turn off all the magnitudes just to see the quakes. But even then, you can see it. The coast focused in on Southern California, and California is going to break. We're going to be seeing this break. It's going to be going in the 5 range, most likely down south. Now, out off the coast is a different story. Up to the northwest, I don't know if we'll get the reports. Again, I already proved to you that they're not reporting to you 4s and 3s and 2s and so forth across the coast of Canada. We have to check the Canadian feed to get it. Now, the USGS will say, we don't report earthquakes under 4.5 internationally. And I go, oh, really? What about the 1s and 2s over in Egypt? Christmas Day. These shitheads. Since I already swore, I'm just going to say it. These shitheads at the USGS. They're like really occult Templar shit or whatever. And it's Christmas Day and they freaking list an earthquake in Egypt. 1 point something. Some weird occult shit they got going on. I'm serious. I'm not kidding, man. Oh, what if I did that? You know, hey guys, I'm up there. Oh, look at this. We're in a cult. We're in a cult. We're in the Jedi. Not the Jedi like Obi-Wan. I'm talking about Jedi, D-J-E-D-I. The Jedi. Did you guys know that there was an ancient cult called the Jedi, sun worshippers in Egypt? You tell me that's chance. Please. Freaking so stupid. Let's go down to Southern California and warn you, even though you don't deserve it. They don't deserve it, I mean. Oh, sorry. Oh, God. Dude, this has totally gone off the rails. This whole update has gone off the rails big time. It's kind of like the story of my life. All right, anyway, Southern California, we're going to watch here. We're going to watch east of LA, northeast by 75 miles. Palmdale, out there right at the border of the Mojave going into the San Andreas. 5.3. You probably will feel it in the LA basin. Now, I brought up the New Madrid seismic zone, and I brought up over to the east. So let's just talk about this over on the New Madrid, right in the middle of 2.1 struck yesterday. Now, this is an interesting location. This got me completely sidetracked when I did a little update on this last night. I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to show you the quake and show you what's around it and what it's most likely related to. Of course, the New Madrid seismic zone, which the New Madrid seismic zone is really on the edge of the craton, in case you don't know about the craton. Here's the epicenter. Nice wooded area here in Missouri. By the way, acreage down here is going for about $5,000 an acre or less. Yeah, isn't that awesome? Okay, so big quarry. Lots of quarrying going on there. But let's back it out. This, you might be able to see the shape of this whole valley. You know, it goes around in somewhat of a ring like this. Do you see that? And we have mountains covered with trees all the way around it. Now, see where it says Ash Flat and over to the east? This goes right into the Mississippi River Basin. And the town of New Madrid is right over here. Right here. So here's the town of New Madrid where the big one hit back in the early 1800s, and we're parallel to it. The N-shaped bend, of course, is the New Madrid. So really, we're on the outside of it. On the outside edge, there's volcanoes here. Well, at least here, this is a volcanic field, and I had to find this for myself up on the north side. Volcanic hexagonal basalt columns coming up out of the ground. You guys could go, we'll talk about that some other day. But up here on the north side of this, we go all the way around here, and over here right next to this is an ancient star fort, which is being hidden. Again, I won't talk about this too much. Fort Kaskaskia here is an ancient star fort. They're trying to tell us the British built. This is French territory, but they're trying to tell us the British built this and that it was abandoned. And they try to say it was over here in Illinois, but it's really here on this side of the river. We're right next to it. And I have to talk about that because, well, this matters when we're in the area where we have big volcanic up here and down here. And big volcanic carries on down into Arkansas along the edge of the Craton. When I say big volcanic, I should just say ancient volcanic that was pretty big. So you have Crater of Diamonds down here. Then up here, you have confirmed volcanic field that I had to find myself. In between the two, from down here to up here, we have a big volcanic field right in the middle, most likely. And it goes up here into Missouri. Now, again, these go back so old that really you should just consider them ancient volcanic fields and not going to erupt again, but they're fracture points in the crust. Now, there may be other things here that I don't know about. Like, so for instance, if we zoom in and we find some kind of ancient wall or giant fort of some kind that's there right at the location. But again, I haven't scoured the spot. We're getting an earthquake there, and it's the same size as what's been coming out of Texas within a magnitude. So 2 to 3 at the most. Anything else? 2.1s went up the East Coast. So 2.1 over in Virginia, 2.0 to 2.1 over in Maryland, and a 1.9 to 2.1 off the coast of Maine. So really that's 4 2.1s in a couple days going all the way across the edge of the North American Craton. Ah, man, what an update this one's going to be. So going back to the start of the update, we are actually looking for extremely large earthquake activity to hit over here in the West Pacific that could go up to 8.0. Now, the deep earthquakes, I have to know where the deep earthquakes are striking so I can determine where to look between. If they start removing deep earthquakes, it's literally somebody removing science data. It's not only dishonorable, it's pathetic. And it really doesn't matter to me too hard. I'll still get it right. I just have to do a lot more sleuthing and kind of do some guesswork, some Sherlocking. It's not like I have a ledger where I'm keeping track of rights or wrongs, but I know everybody else is. So when people, imagine it like this. Somebody comes in and interferes with the rain gauge as you're trying to figure out how much rain is going to fall in an area. You're doing meteorological forecasting, and there's people that are coming in and with the numbers on purpose to try and stop you from forecasting the amount of rain that you think is going to fall. And the reason they're trying to stop you from forecasting the amount of rain that can fall is because they've made previous statements saying that nobody can know how much rain's going to fall. And then the same people who said that you couldn't know then come in and stop reporting the rain at all once other people start paying attention. That's what's happening. I got a message for them, for the professionals. Every book that you've got that says that it's impossible, every website you've got that says that it's impossible to forecast earthquakes, you're going to have to, first of all, change your terminology to say forecast, not predict. Prediction is for crystal balls, horse races, presidential elections. Okay? Forecasting is for tides, weather, astronomy, and other natural processes. Get your terminology straight first. Prediction is for horse races. Prediction is for crystal balls. Prediction is for knowing the exact time, the exact date, the exact something. And in geophysical and in meteorological and astronomical, there are no exacts. Maybe in an astronomical, you could maybe get it down to a minute or so with I don't know, lunar eclipses or something, but you know what I mean. So get your terminology straight first, professionals. Secondly, oh, wow, hey, look in the lower right-hand corner. I just got shut off. my internet, I just got disconnected from OBS Live. So I just got shut off as I'm talking to you. See how it says in the lower right-hand corner, reconnection successful? Somebody just hit the off switch, but I'm recording. While I was live, somebody turned me off so you can't hear me. Luckily, I was just recording, so that just got captured live on screen. Now everybody, 550,000 people on YouTube, get to see that as I was on complaining about the professionals, calling them out, somebody hit the off switch to my stream. Not me. I'm sitting here, got my coffee in my hand and a microphone in the other, and I'm kicked back in my chair. So, there's a group of people from the professionals that they have, I think, people that work for them at the agency, from the agencies, have people that work in social media. And they probably have hackers of their own that are paid to do this, to shut you down if you start going off on them or showing them to be fools or showing them to not be trustworthy. Those are the only options that I've got now. Again, I've been on talking for, well, let's see, how long were we on before they killed my stream? I've been on 191 hours and 53 minutes. But they just shut me off, which I've now started over at 0 drop frames. So I've been live without hitting the off button for 191 hours. I get on and start talking. I've been recording for 31 minutes. I go off on them, and they hit the off switch. So, time for me to upload this video. Do you have an earthquake plan? This should also be troubling to you. The professionals don't really touch on this much, but you need to pay attention to the spread of earthquakes that are going across the planet. There is a spread and a trajectory to the spread. You can start paying attention to the way the earthquakes flow. There's a flow to the earthquakes. And the professionals said earthquakes were completely random, and it turns out that's wrong. Earthquakes are following the plate boundaries, craton edges, and they're related to one another. The magnitudes are. And that there's something else causing the quakes. There's something spreading out across the plates that are causing the quakes. It's a frequency of some kind, a very low frequency, most likely, to ultra low frequency. And I say most likely because the spacing on the quakes is slightly different on one side of the plate than the other when the wave's spreading out. Hey, think of it like this. Look at my lake. A boat goes by, let's say, and it creates a big wave. Okay? Right? All boats create waves when they wake, if you will. And the wave of the wake, is coming towards the shore. And it's several large ripples of a boat. Right? Then it hits off the shore, and it reflects back out towards the middle of the lake. Happens all the time. The waves hit off the side of the lake, go back. And when they hit off the side of the lake, guess what? The spacing is halved. It cuts in half. So if the space of the wave is 2 feet apart from the boat, very low frequency of the boat, it hits off the shore and it reflects back out to the center of the lake, the frequency goes up. The spacing on the waves is shorter apart. So you could think of it like that when Mother Nature pushes through something, the wave spreads out, reflects off, comes back. When it reflects off and comes back, it's halved, and we go from ultra low frequency up to very low frequency. We go from a few thousand miles apart over here to a few hundred miles apart over here. So a longer wave on one side, by the time it hits over and reflects off, it's actually come up in frequency. Wow, man, wow. I can't believe they shut me off. Dude, that's the best. You might as well just hey, New World Order and professionals and whoever shut me down. Dude, I don't know if you're trying to help. Maybe you are. Wouldn't that be weird if you were trying to help in your own weird way and shutting me off and stuff? You're like, you know it's going to make me more popular. I'm not doing it. People try to say I was doing it to myself. I'm like, dude, I'll let you come here and stay at my freaking house. You can sit here with me. If you think I'm doing this to myself. I got my wife as a witness. You think she's doing it to me? I'm paying her to do it, right? Seriously, guys, somebody is trying to stop earthquake forecasting. And I think I know who. The professionals. And they're a monolithic group. So, yeah, we can just call them somebody. They're singular. We can refer to them as somebody. There's some people who have an issue with me. We all know that. Peace out. I'm done ranting. You need an earthquake plan. But that's a separate video. So let's go watch this on YouTube and hear how bad it gets.